I've had several NDEs, but the most notable, to make a long story short, was during a shipwreck in open ocean in Brazil, where my small, almost 5.5 meter boat sank in the intense winter storm, leaving me and my partner treading in water for approximately 15 plus hours and drifting through the pitch black stormy night. I can deeply relate to the Tibetan bardo of the Book of Dead, which I had briefly been acquainted and familiarized with by a close friend who shortly passed away after. Suffice to say that concerning the incident that led up to this near-death experience, we were engulfed in and by the impact of a huge tropical storm and a cold front that lasted 3 days and 3 nights approximately, which was quite typical of the area. Whereupon the first night was the most intense, creating very, very rough seas, where one particular rogue wave entirely swallowed the boat. Shortly after throwing us overboard, and in the last few minutes of dimmed light turned into a wet, cold, pitch dark obscurity, totally adrift. In minutes after being tossed about by the howling chaos, it became shockingly obvious the precarious situation we were in, and that no one, or nor any Coast Guard, would be able to find us. In such deep despair of no possible rescue, I recall how I wept the last cry, as if a farewell to this life as I knew it, and that I faced what seemed right then as an imminent death. Immediately after the release of a profoundly deep primal cry, with nowhere else to escape to or go, I was suddenly overcome by an overwhelming insight into absolute consciousness. I witnessed so much of what seemed like synaptic activity, triggering stimulus, flickering images, flashing memories, experiences, past lives perhaps even, along with recent current events only days before. One in particular felt as a tense contraction, unresolved, an unsettling discussion with my partner at the time, demanding full attention and craving for, as if another chance, an opportunity to redeem myself in the equanimity, or so it seemed. I clearly remember how particularly distinctive and sharp everything became, and all at once, timelessly. All here now, no other space or time, nothing else left to hide, nothing to hide from, just absolute thisness as all-inclusive presence. Comparatively speaking, like some divine, unified communion with infinity. Not a fictional bearded god in the sky, but more like together with and as an all-encompassing, boundless eternity. As I merged and dissolved into a wholesome, pure, divisionless, and yet eerily familiar, timeless reality. I sensed that after the emptying of such a deep discharge, there was a complete let go and profound surrendering, though there might have seemed that no one was left to surrender. Whereupon I supposedly saw an astounding tunnel of light opening seemingly in front of me amidst the pitch black, stormy night, but which was in fact more accurately in the middle of my forehead, and instantly I became completely absorbed and carried through into a timeless infinite space. Skipping many intriguing and fascinating details for now, I received a very clear message, somewhat telepathic, I guess, and it was not my time to be there, and that I had to go back to this terrestrial life that I knew. 3 emerging silhouetted figures passed in front of my view, apparently, from left to right, coming towards me, and suddenly, as I recall, I was looped as if from the disappearing tunnel and back into the howling dark and carnal, dense, cold storm. But something had completely changed. I was not sensing or seeing anything objectively through whom I previously thought that I knew as myself. There was a total shift in perspective seen from and as a subjective awareness. It's not even correct to call it an awareness. It's just more like thisness. There was no more sense of division or separateness, not even a me, nor the experience by the me, just the experiencingness. It is as if I had dissolved and become the water, the waves, the tempestuous wind, the parasitic isopods that were biting through my exposed skin. The whole sea becomes alive, and even the darting photoluminescence of silhouetted sharks and big fish whirling around was seen very impersonally, as if a spectator in the cinema watching a screen and a film passing on it. There was no fear either, for I was totally in the present presence, without any vacant space for the hankering illusionary imagination of a usual, normal somebody, someone. Instead, more like an unidentifiable nobody, with no projections or doubts, no hopes, no expectations, no concerns, no time for concerns, no extra thoughts required or needed to meet beyond the immediate spontaneous as-isness reality that was arising. I recall being totally awake and alert, not preoccupied, with no boundaries or limits, in a stateless state, without my story, past or future, just singularly present, infinity, no judgments, nor anyone to judge. As the hours passed, in the dim dawn light of the following stormy day, after 12 hours of raw survival, treading water, I noticed my partner had severe signs of hypothermia, unconsciousness, and erratic spasms. The same telepathic message arose within and told me to swim immediately to land that I could now see on the far horizon. The tides were against me, going out yet again to the ocean, plus dragging my partner's helpless body made it very difficult to approach the land. But finally, hours later, I made it to a deserted beach where moments before reaching dry land, my partner passed away in my arms. And the story continues. I understand that this timeless experience is the glimpse of Satori, of even Samadhi, of our true essential nature, as the Absolute. Although the impact of this so-called Satori lasted intensely for some weeks and gradually faded, it was never entirely forgotten, and it is to this day, to this very moment in time, without space, without time, like an empty sky of who I am. Still, everything remains unfolding as an infinite, unknowable mystery.